Thank you very much, everyone. I think we're running just a couple of minutes behind the time, so I'll kick off now. I think there was an intention for a few minutes of break, but we'll shorten that and start session two. And as promised, what we want to do before we have our workshop breakout sessions, I wanted to spend a few moments bringing you up to date on the ARIS Toolkit, which forms part of the Catapult's response to some of the challenges and opportunities that we heard referenced in the first session this afternoon, regarding how do you progress the case and the implementation of smart local energy systems to achieve good outcomes for local areas and the people that live in them. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes bringing you up to date on our work in this area. So I could have the next slide, please. So we've already heard in the course of the first session, as I've said, that we've heard that there are challenges. We've heard there's opportunities. We also know that there's urgency, and we need to translate good intention, good strategy into action. So we're familiar that with the idea that local authorities are going to be increasingly important as we progress on the journey to net zero. Many have declared climate emergencies and are now trying to understand how best to deliver on that. And as you've heard today, we believe that smart local energy systems are going to play a key role in that by allowing local resources and energy solutions to be brought together to deliver benefits for those places, be those benefits climate, social, or economic. And on the next slide, we summarize the outcomes of some of our research in this area, trying to understand the requirements that are emerging from this desire to move forward with smart local energy systems, and what are the things that are standing in the way. And I don't intend to step through these. I think we've heard reference to them in the course of the first session. But I would come back to trying to summarize these a little bit, really, and the themes that emerge from them. And I think one of them is I will repeat myself, basically, that these are complex projects, and therefore it's quite hard to understand how best to translate the desire to implement, the thinking behind implementation. How do you translate that into action with some sense of urgency? Underpinning many of these points that are raised here is how do you enable the flow of information to allow stakeholders to make good decisions on a timely basis. That seems to be quite key. How do you give people the right data, the right information, the right knowledge to enable them to do that? And importantly, I think there's a need to try and draw on good practice or best practice to accelerate progress, to make that good practice available so that if we do things more quickly, we do things with better managed risks and at lower cost. And finally, a theme that was being talked about before the break was about how you encourage collaboration. How do you convene parties to work together to foster scale and replication of solutions and best practice as you move forward. So on the next slide, basically we make a statement that we think we have a contribution to make here, and this is with our smart toolkit for smart local energy systems that's being developed within the ARIS program. And broadly, at a very high level, what this toolkit's trying to do is to help the local authorities and their partners by putting the right kinds of tools in their hands to enable them to create flourishing local energy communities, because that's largely what we're trying to do, the journey to net zero for the benefit of citizens. So on the next slide, we try to summarize a little bit about what this toolkit aims to do. and largely what we want to do is use it to support local authorities or provide capabilities to local authorities to enable them to turn their ambitions into actionable plans. And it comes back to this whole point that was made so well by some of the previous speakers. How do you translate into action? How do you actually make these things make these things happen at pace? So what we're seeking to do is draw together the best resources that we can find and make them available to local authorities and those with whom they work in one interactive destination, kind of a consolidation function for tools, resources, and other forms of capability. And underneath and underpinning that, we're trying to support, where appropriate, standardizing some of these approaches. Can we, for example, discover good standard interoperable ways of capturing and presenting data that are usable by all local authorities, respecting the fact that local authorities are different, but there are some ways in which standardization can be helpful to enable them to move forward more quickly. And another important aspect of the toolkit is to address this question that's again been raised earlier in the conversation today about how do you bring the right types of skills to the table at the right time to enable progress to be made in what is unquestionably a new emerging multidisciplinary systems opportunity. On the next slide, it says a little bit about what we're actually trying to do. So it's acknowledging that the problem here is hard. It is complex. There are a number of possible pathways for going forward. There are difficult decisions to make, and there's a lot of uncertainty and risk associated with this. So we were acknowledging at the beginning that this is not easy. So our objective, though, is, well, can we make it easier? Can we provide those who are charged and have the responsibility for moving some of these things forward? Can we help them by providing them access to good, trusted support? And so there are broadly three things, I suppose, which characterize what we're trying to do. And one of the things I find really quite exciting about this is much of this aligns well with some of the things we heard earlier from Hani about the advisory service at the infrastructure bank. So I guess I take comfort from the fact that we're focusing on the right things, because this seems to be the right type of thing to be doing to support those who are charged with moving this agenda forward. So one of the things that we want to become is we want to be independent and reliable source of assets and resources and other types of capabilities to be made available to the local authorities in an organized way that makes it easy to use, basically. To support this, we want to draw on the experience that's been gained in the sector across the time and make that experience available. In other words, make case studies and examples available to enable others to learn from experience which could be good, or experience which could teach us lessons of a different kind. And then underpinning this, we believe there's value in a framework which helps us understand what are the steps in the journey that needs to be taken, and what kinds of tools are helpful as you progress along that journey. And ultimately, what it all is in service of is helping local authorities and those with whom they work and the people who live in those local authorities achieve the right kinds of outcomes for the people, the place, and the planet. So that's largely how we frame what the toolkit's about. On the next slide, we give a little bit more insight into the kinds of things that will be in the toolkit, and I'm not going to step through them all today. Some of them are oriented towards the type of technology choices that you will make based upon the infrastructure and the assets that are available in the local area. Some relate specifically to the business cases and insight into the benefits cases, the co-benefits that are associated with the opportunities. Some relate to how do you actually get on and do things, and I'd specifically, obviously, in the context of today's event, focus on the funding and investment part, which is, as we've seen, absolutely fundamental to moving forward. And it's for that reason that we're using the efforts of the insight work to inform what best to place in the toolkit to be of most value to those who would be using it. And then in addition to that, on the right, we highlight ways where we're actually providing, and in fact, it came back to a point that Hani made earlier in his comments about the benefits of a knowledge system. I keep referred to the idea of knowledge sharing to help others learn from what we've done, and the idea of supporting that with other types of capabilities. For example, I guess another one to highlight here really is the idea of consulting with the community to be sure that what you're actually proposing from your plan, from your strategy, how that translates into a project which is going to be acceptable in the community. So a collection of capabilities made available to support not only the sharing of knowledge, but actually making real action possible to move projects forward. And then the next slide, we highlight some of what we believe to be the benefits of such a capability being available. I'm not going to dwell on these, but largely what you're trying to address are the questions of feasibility, viability, and acceptability of the types of projects that you want to bring forward, and these relate to matters of technology, of business models, value propositions, policy, regulation, and of course finance and investment. So if we move to the next slide, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to break into workshops. And I think this is actually, I think I'll turn over to one of my colleagues to, I'm afraid I'm not much of a Zoom user. So I think we're going to split into working groups. And I'll ask, Anna, are you going to be helping us move forward to the workshop sessions?
Yes, this was just to really summarise for those people that are still on the call that aren't in one of the workshop sessions,
sorry. Okay.
that we are doing follow-up ones.
I apologise. I thought, okay. Let me complete my session properly then.
Thanks, Eric.
It says we will after today the work doesn't stop today, definitely. We will be following up during the week commencing the 7th of June with workshops as indicated there around clean air, enhanced buildings, and then a consolidation session. All of these will be feeding into the toolkit development and our work with, I make reference here to a local authority user group, which is a group we've convened to provide challenge and testing of the work that's going on into the toolkit. And the other thing I'd highlight here is that our next insight will be in the area of procurement. And we will be doing a similar sort of exercise where we'll be conducting structured interviews and workshops and so on with those who are expert or interested in the field of procurement. And so stay tuned, and we'd be more than happy to engage with you or your colleagues as we move into that area of development. And I guess the last thing I'd say on this is, if you are interested in knowing more about the toolkit or contributing to the toolkit or taking part in testing the toolkit, there's an email address there to enable you to get in touch with us, and we very much welcome your engagement and involvement.